What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. In today's video I have brought to you my apocalypse build, and I'm so excited to show you guys. Alright, so I'm going to show you guys the build, and then I'm going to show you how to get some of the items that I have acquired to make this build work. So basically this build is focused on DPS and survivability, and basically you want to spam the Deceit weapon mod over and over again without reloading. So I'll demonstrate it here in the firing range. So every time you shoot the Deceit, it has two projectiles that shoot out, and it has a pretty good critical damage modifier, especially because of the ring that I have on. But if you pop all of the skills, pop your relic, pop the weapon mod, use the melee attack, it constantly has a weak spot damage hit. And if you can hit all of these, especially with the damage that we're doing, it's constantly going to refresh the weapon mod. That way you don't have to reload it all the time, because the reload for the Deceit is actually pretty long. And you can acquire the Deceit long gun from the Fei Lin boss on La Somme with the Palace Courtyard tile set, and he will be on the gold side. So you defeat him, and then he'll drop the Imposter Heart, give that to McCabe, and you can craft this long gun. Alright, so now to show you guys the build, we are using the Hunter as the prime archetype, and then we are going to use the Gunslinger as the secondary archetype. So the two starting archetypes, unless you had pre-ordered the game, you'll have the Gunslinger as a starting type, but you can get it from Mudtooth with exhausting his dialogue, and then you can get the Hunter engram again, either as starting, or you can buy it from one of the vendors in Ward 13. And we're going to use Hunter Shroud. So Hunter Shroud is actually a really good ability. So it makes you pretty much invisible, and when you exit that, it'll apply a mark, which the mark allows critical chance increase, and then you also have 50% long gun bonus damage and weak spot hit damage, which is great. And it also helps out, especially with Apocalypse difficulty, to lower the enemy threat on you. So then onto the perks, we have the two perks. We have Return to Sender. Kills due to weak spot and critical hits will increase ammo drop rate, which is very useful for the Deceit because it has a low magazine capacity, which is why I also like using the Gunslinger. And then for Intuition, using a relic extends the duration of any active skill by 10 seconds. So this is actually very useful, because when we pop our skills, we actually want to consume a relic, and then it'll extend the duration of Hunter Shroud. And then I like using the Dead to Rights prime perk with the Hunter, because every time you do weak spot damage, it'll extend the duration. Eventually this will fall off, but it extends it actually for a pretty long time. And then we're going to go to Bulletstorm with the Gunslinger. So this is pretty much increased fire rate, increased reload speed, and then single shot weapons, which the Deceit is, will become fully automatic, and then kills it will instantly reload the current weapon as well. And then moving on to the perks, we have Swift Shot, which you gain a 15% fire rate and 25% range damage and 5% crit chance for all firearms, which is absolutely fantastic. Again, we're focusing damage on with this build. And then moving on to the team perk, we have Posse Up, which ammo pickups award 30% additional ammo per player, with the bonus split equally among teammates. Again, this is great with the Deceit, because the Deceit really has a low magazine size. And then moving on to the utility perk, we have Quick Hands, which we gain a 10% increased reload speed, which doubles if the magazine is fully empty. Again, helps out with the reload of the Deceit, especially when we're fighting squishier enemies. And then lastly, we have the relic perk, Sleight of Hand, which using a relic reloads the equipped firearm, and then increases the range damage by 15% for 10 seconds. Alright, and as for the equipment, I'm using the Fey Royal Armor set, but I have the High Noon chest piece on just to keep my weight under 50, so that way I have the medium roll. And then I like using the Shielded Heart relic. It just grants you a temporary shield, so it really gets you out of sticky situations, especially with some of the traits that I have. And then of course we want the relic upgrades as far as critical chance, range critical damage, and then of course range weak spot damage. And then I have of course this Deceit, and I have the Supercharger Mutator on there, so that way it increases firing speed. It counts for that. And then I have the Spectral Blade, which has the Whirlwind special on it. I just like using this melee weapon. I think it's cool. and I have the striker mutator on that as well, which each melee hit increases the damage, so good for a pinch for squishier enemies. And then I just have the Enigma. Again, after the nerf, this gun is actually still a beast, and then I have Deadly Calm on it. I don't have it fully upgraded, but this thing upgraded all the way is actually pretty nice. And then the first for the rings, I have the Probability Cord, which increases crit damage by 30%, and we're constantly popping crits with this build, so having this is a must. And you can obtain this from the Corrupted Harbor after the second checkpoint, where you clear out the boiler room with all the enemies, and then you'll go up a path where there is a route, drop down, and then it'll be right by the checkpoint, and that's where you get the Probability Cord. And then moving on to the next ring, I have Farin Sigil, which is the other item that I was talking about that we need to get from the Psalm. So you'll have to re-roll it and then go to those bosses again. And this is actually rewarded by Farin if you kill Lin, which is the one in the Golden World. If you go back to the Darker World and speak to him, he'll reward you with this ring. And as for the third ring, I have the Archer's Crest, which increases projectile speed by 20% and decreases weapon charge time by 25%, which you can obtain this ring from Undaria's End dungeon in Yesha, which is hidden behind a wall by a waterfall. And then Xania's Malice, which you deal weak spot damage, increases weak spot damage for 7 seconds, stacks 3 times, which is amazing since we're constantly dealing weak spot. You can obtain that from the Corrupted Harbor after the first checkpoint, crouch down, and then it's behind a wall. And then I have the Jester's Bell Amulet, which increases mod and skill cast speed, and then also every time you do that, it grants you a damage buff. This is obtained from the Jester from the palace after you do the clapping emote after his little show. And then you can easily replace that with the Unk of Power, which is also a really good amulet as well. And then moving on to the traits, I have Fortify from the Engineer archetype to increase my armor effectiveness. Of course, I have the base ones for the Hunter and the Gunslinger. I also have Regrowth from the Summoner, which you constantly get a health regen, which is great for this build. And then we also have Vigor maxed out. I didn't max out Endurance because it just wasn't needed. And then I also maxed out Mod Power Generation for Spirit. Maxed out Expertise for skill cooldown because we're constantly trying to pop these. And then I have Bark Skin for damage reduction, so for survivability on Apocalypse. And then I also have Siphoner, which you gain a lifesteal bonus. Really good for the amount of damage that we're doing. Alright, so that's it for the build, guys. I'm going to show you guys some gameplay and show you guys how it really works out in the field. And then I'll actually have some boss gameplay, so that way you guys can get a taste of what it looks like.
Damn. Is it over? Here we go.
Alright guys, well I hope you enjoyed that little bit of gameplay. I've been having a lot of fun using this build on Apocalypse. It's really working out well for me. And just a reminder guys, if you want to stay up to date with all the latest and greatest games coming out, we provide you with tips and tricks, reviews, guides such as this one. You name it, we got you covered here at Lost Days Gaming. So drop a like on this video and consider subscribing for more content coming your way. I'll see you all in the next video. Deuces.